About a month ago, I collected 20 gallons of stale gasoline from behind an abandoned motorcycle shop, and I've been struggling to try and get that stale gasoline to blend with vegetable oil. I found out right away that it wouldn't blend with vegetable oil. I also noticed that the vinyl hose I use on my blending tank for a sight glass had swollen, which is an indication that that stale gasoline had a high concentration of alcohol in it. And the fact that that stale gasoline, I found when I blended it with waste vegetable oil, I found that that stale gasoline floated on top and didn't blend at all with the vegetable oil, which is another indicator it probably was alcohol or mostly alcohol. So then I blended that stale gasoline with some waste gasoline that was only a couple months old that I had used to backflush my filters. And the stale gasoline and the gasoline blended well together. But when I blended it with vegetable oil, only about 3 gallons of the vegetable oil blended, but it indicated that I was moving in the right direction. So anyway, last weekend I added a gallon of acetone to that blend. So it was roughly 50% vegetable oil, about 25% stale gas, and or 20% stale gas and 20% gasoline, and I added about 5% acetone to the blend, or a gallon of acetone to the whole blend. And that still didn't solve the problem. I was still not getting a complete blend. So I added a second gallon of gasoline, which brought it, or acetone, which brought it, the blend up to 10% acetone and 20% stale gas, 20% fresh gas, and 50% waste vegetable oil. And at that point, it blended. So I've extracted a sample, and this is my sample. The first sample was quite dark. The second sample is still pretty dark, but I can actually transmit light through it, and I'll zoom in for you. But the rest of it is clear. It's about the color of diesel fuel. And as you can see, the light is transmitting through the bottom, and there's not a lot of sediment. This is the first sample I extracted, and it's absolutely black, and there's a fair amount of sediment in it. But as you can see, the first sample was really only about 1 liter in size, and I actually extracted 3 more small samples that were getting less and less dark and less sediments. This one actually is relatively clear. I can see light passing through it, but there is a fair amount of sediment on it. And then this one is pretty dark. This must be the second one, I guess. It's pretty dark, but I can see some light passing through it. Alright, so this sample is the good stuff, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to check the viscosity and the specific gravity of our sample, and if it's good to go, if it's close to diesel fuel, then I'll run it on my engine. So the first thing that we're going to do is measure the temperature of our sample. It was outside in my processing tank, or blending tank, overnight, and I just brought it in. But the temperature of the day is pretty good. It's about 75 or 80 Fahrenheit. It's been sitting inside for a few minutes equilibrating. Okay, so the temperature is 75.0 Fahrenheit or 23.9 C. So next step is to check the specific gravity. It's going to be probably pretty close to diesel fuel. So we're going to use the 0.800 to 0.85 hydrometer. We're going to put about 500 milliliters into the graduated cylinder. And we're going to put our hydrometer in. And oh, it's almost off scale. Dense. Let's see. It's right at about 0.85. 0. Yeah, it's right on 850. Now let's get our stopwatch and our number 0 biz cup. And we've got 38.9 seconds. Okay, diesel is 0.843, so specific gravity 0.843 is diesel, and our sample is 0.850, which makes it, specific gravity wise, makes it about 40, let's see, about 35 to 40% canola oil, and the time was 38.9 seconds, and 38.9 seconds well, at viscosity, interestingly enough, reads down around 10%, but the specific gravity reads at 35%, so that is a mystery, and I suspect that there's not going to be a one-for-one correlation between specific gravity and viscosity, especially when there's multiple components in the fluid. But when it's only 50% vegetable oil and the rest is solvents, I'm going to go with this sample. It also seems awfully thin, so I'm going to go with this blend and see how the engine runs on it. I drove 500 miles from Prescott to southeastern Arizona on a number of blends. One blend was the final consumption of a stale gasoline blend with waste oil. When I left Prescott, the stale gasoline was at about 20%. I had 15% acetone in the total blend and waste vegetable oil. And what I noticed was that the engine was a little sluggish. So I added another gallon of acetone to the blend of waste vegetable oil and gasoline, or stale gasoline, and found that I could burn the rest of the tank full. So there was still a residue of undissolved stale gasoline floating on top. But once I put the extra gallon of acetone into the stale gasoline and vegetable oil blend, the blend ran beautifully. My engine actually had more power than it does on diesel fuel, and it ran fine through the White Mountains of Arizona.